Welcome to the Studio Success Formula Podcast, the business school for dance studio owners. And now for your host, Clint Salter.
Hey there, dance studio owners. It's Clint Salter here from Studio Success Formula, and thanks for joining us on today's podcast. Now, today I've planned something a little bit different and exciting for all of you, and I'm going to be chatting with two musical theatre professionals. They're very smiley, Robert Hartwell and Jennifer Jancusca. Hello, guys. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having us. How are you?
Awesome. Great to have you both here. Now, it's going to be interesting having two guests on because I'm sure we're all going to want to try and talk over the top of each other. So bear with us, everyone, because we've all got a lot to say. Now, you might know these two because Jennifer actually is part of Broadway Connection, and she helps dance studio owners all across the globe really get the amazing Broadway stars into their studios teaching workshops. So she's seen inside a lot of dance studios and they're just doing some really, really cool stuff. So I wanted them to get on board. Robert is one of their awesome instructors that teaches for them, who's been on Broadway and done lots of shows. So there's a lot of experience here between these two guys that are going to be sharing with you some really cool stuff today. So I guess firstly, guys, I'd love to know a little bit about both of you. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about you and what you currently do.
I am the co-founding artistic director of Broadway Connection. This is our 8th season. So we work in all across North America, Canada, the US, and we have launched in the UK as well. We work with over 20 different tours and Broadway companies with over 50 faculty members for Broadway Connection. And the family of studios across the country is at least 500 at this point. So we have a fantastic family. So I'm doing that all the time. And then at the same time, I am a choreographer and director working in new musical theater in New York and again across the country at theaters like the Public Theater, City Center, Dallas Theater Center, Trinity Rep. I love creating new musical works. And then I am a creative director and producer of a show called BC Beat in New York City that features 8 Broadway choreographers each fall and spring. The 10th BC Beat is coming up in November, and choreographers include Andy Blankenbuehler, Daniel J. Watts, Marco Santana, just to name a few there. Also, Al Blackstone, I know you guys all know him. So it's a really, really great night. Robert's been a part of that as well. We have shared Broadway Connection and BC Beat and just life in general in New York for over 7 years together. Did it work for you? We are very, very close, and we're excited to be chatting together with you.
Yeah, awesome. And so, Robert, tell us a little bit about you. How did your journey start in the entertainment industry?
My journey started with actually a trip to our community theater to see, when I was 7 years old, to see a production of Cinderella. And from that day, I was just hooked into musical theater and dance, and I just wanted to really get as much information. I just wanted all of the information. I wanted all of the training. I just wanted. But not a lot of it was available in my hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina, when I was growing up. And so I think that's one thing that is so incredibly cool about what Jennifer and Melissa have created, in the sense that, you get these Broadway dancers who are teaching in all of these different communities that sometimes are pretty underserved in their in their arts education. So I think if I were a kid and I would have had an opportunity of something like Broadway Connection, I would have absolutely lost my mind with so much joy and glee. But I ended up going to high school at North Carolina School of the Arts, and I was a classical ballet dancer major there. And then from there, I went to the University of Michigan, where I got my BFA in musical theater. And then shortly after that, I joined the Dreamgirls National Tour out of college and started teaching for Jennifer and Broadway Connection. And then I moved to New York and made my Broadway debut in Memphis the Musical. And then from Memphis, I did Nice Work, If You Can Get It, on Broadway. And then Cinderella, the musical, on Broadway. And currently I'm on the national tour of Motown the Musical.
Ah, fantastic. I've seen all of those shows bar Motown. Wow, what a journey. And I want to touch on, I mean, both of you are going into lots of studios around the country. What are some of the things that you've noticed within the studios around the students who, you know, when you're in class with someone and you're teaching and a student's kind of doing the choreography and there's something about them? I mean, what is it that you think makes a student that then can have a career as a performer in what can be a very tough industry? Jennifer, I might start with you.
Great. Well, I teach a lot at universities and then at studios across the country, and then I do a lot of casting in New York for new shows. It's really important to have amazing technique, right? You need to go, if you have that foundation of technique, you can do any different style. You can walk in, you can get direction, you can take it. It stands out. It completely stands out. Also, just being grounded in who you are and as an individual is absolutely necessary. It allows people to be able to communicate. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it when they're breathing. And you need that when you walk into the room and you're auditioning. And then you need that even more in the rehearsal room to be able to collaborate. These are people that you're going to collaborate and create with. So technique, you need to be grounded as an individual, and you need to have confidence to make choices. Again, you're not going to choreograph and direct every single second of the stage of the show, right? And so to have that confidence, say, okay, I know this person can be a character through and through, you know, beginning to end, and develop that and stay true to it is who you want to collaborate with. And I would love to see more of that in studios, whether that's encouraging students to create on their own, you know, having a class that is choreography based, or even introducing improv before you do, you know, combinations. That kind of thing is really, really necessary for students, dancers in particular, to remember that they are artists.
I agree. And I think that's a really good point that so many of our speakers on our recent summit, Dance Teachers Unite, talked about was, you know, get them working together, get them creating. At the end of the day, they're creative human beings, and they might not go on to be a performer, but they might be an amazing lighting technician, or they might design costumes, but I think nurturing that creativity and getting them in that space is crucial.
Absolutely.
Robert, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are absolutely what Jennifer was saying, and also, especially for musical theater, it's all about storytelling, you know? And I think one thing that I've noticed, especially this year in teaching, that with our tech crazy, you know, the tech crazy generation that, you know, are growing up in the studios right now, they're just constantly, they have information coming at them from Facebook to all the different social media outlets, and everything is right there, readily available on their phone, on their mobile devices. And so I think when all of the energy is just put into those, you forget how to tell stories. And when I was growing up, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have all of these different outlets that you could plug into. So we had to play games with other neighborhood kids to, you know, and you're just playing and you're having a good time, and you're telling stories and you're doing X and Y and Z. And I think that because this generation is just so plugged into these, you know, social media devices, they are not learning the skills necessary to be effective storytellers. And I think that's one thing that we definitely try to get out of the students in the classroom, is to tell a story, especially if you're going to be in the musical theater where you just have to express in a completely different way than you would do if, say, you're doing La Bayadere. But I then guess with, you know, something like La Bayadere, you don't have songs, you don't have lines, so you have to be even more expressive. So I think definitely trying to get them to tell stories and figuring out how to put the phones down, how to put the cell phones down, has definitely been like something that I've been harping on a lot this past year, especially in teaching the Broadway Connection classes. But as far as like what you just want a willingness, there. And a lot of the times we teach, early Saturday mornings before a 2-show day. So it's already like you're revving yourself up as the teacher because you know that after you finish the class, you've got 2 shows to go dance yourself, Mm-hmm. So when I go into a studio and, there are the kids that just have that it factor, and it's not an issue of talent. It's not about that at all. Yeah. But I think it's just a willingness to just say yes to whatever we're going to do for the next 2 hours, and just, as corny as it sounds, saying yes to life and yes to joy. Those are the kids that, as a teacher, I want to plug into, and I don't think we're, trying to make the next Bernadette Peters, like she's already done her thing. But finding what, brings these kids some joy, whether it is they want to become a doctor or they want to become a Broadway performer. You have to be able to tell stories and do it with some real, true, authentic joy, I think.
I love that. I think it's great. I mean, to get them in that state, I think one struggle that our studio owners and teachers are facing is how do we keep students engaged now when they are thinking that they're missing something on Facebook? They're in class and they're thinking, have people liked that photo that I put up, 20 minutes before class? What's going on online? I mean, what are you guys doing in the classes that you teach that really keep the children engaged? And I think more important, present as well. That presence piece is so crucial. I mean, What are some things you can share there? I'd love to hear from both of you on this as well.
For me, I think it's about creating a vision that goes past, the recital or the competition. It's asking a question and giving examples. So asking the question, anytime I'm in class, I ask, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? I mean, and it seems like a lot of people know how to answer that question. And so getting people to think bigger than what is right in front of them is going to be helpful to that notion of my phone and that kind of thing, right? You're thinking bigger. You're excited about bigger things. And exposing them to real life people who are doing these amazing things makes it feel like you could accomplish it. It's like, wow, I know this video. I dance with them. I learn from them. I loved every second of it. And then I get to see them on the stage, in Motown, in all these shows. And that's a real life option. And where kids get that these days, in school, hopefully they still have, people coming in and telling them about their jobs and different things. But to have somebody who is successfully working on Broadway in a home studio gives them vision. That's like a word that we go into the next, vision and exposure. And that's what we're doing. And I think it's so important to ask the question and then give support so that we can explore it with curiosity as kids, as students, as artists.
Yeah, I think that's great, and completely agree with you, Robert. What are your thoughts? I mean, you're probably in there now, teaching. I mean, what are you doing in the classroom to ensure that the students are staying with you in that class, keeping their attention, learning and growing at the same time?
I think for me, it's funny because my dad is a basketball coach. So, and everyone in my family is an athlete. So when I started teaching dance class, my dance teacher would always say, my dance teacher who, taught me pedagogy and taught me, how to, structure a class. She would always say, she gave me the nickname Coach Hartwell, which is what, my dad's students call him as Coach Hartwell. So it's like, you are running your dance class like a military boot camp. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it. And I love it. So sometimes I think that I never yell at kids or anything like that. It's not that vibe at all. I'm just not that person.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to show them what hard work can do, and I think exactly what Jennifer said, in the sense that, we are in Nashville, Tennessee, very, very far away from New York City. And here we are, you're sitting in your home studio and you have someone teaching you who has been on Broadway, who is on a current national Broadway tour. So if you follow some of the simple things that I'm suggesting to you to do, it could very possibly it could happen for you as well, So I think the first thing that I always love to do is get on their level, in the sense that not to put yourself higher than them, but come down to where they are. So I always start off with just humanizing myself, because I think sometimes you come in and you're this big person and this big personality from out of town. And so that can be frightening to them. And if you come off that way, you won't get their attention until the Q&A. And by then you're an hour and 45 minutes into class and you've lost your chance to tap in and change some kids' lives. Mm-hmm. So right at the beginning of class, I try to come down to their level and just say, whatever it is, whether, it's early this morning, or, what did you guys do that was fun this weekend? Or, or just something that, puts you on their level, but also still allows them to realize that you are going to be the authoritative figure in this class for the next 2 hours. And I think that, especially when it's a new face in the studio, I give them the structure of what's going to happen for the day. So I tell them, so we're going to start off with a warm-up. We're going to do some across the floors. And I explain, what I will be expecting from you and the basics of what we're going to be doing. And then whatever combinations I'm teaching, at that time, I explain to them what the two contrasting combinations are going to be and what we're going to do. And then, explain to them if they have questions during the class, if it's pertaining to the choreography, of course, raise your hand. But if you want to know, what does it feel like to do the same combination 8 times a week for 600 shows, let's save that for the Q&A. So I think kids really, as much as they don't want to admit it, they love structure. Mm-hmm. And I think going into it, if they know what they're going to be doing for the next 2 hours, even if they've done the Broadway Connection series before, every teacher differs their class slightly. I think it keeps them on focus, So yeah. I think putting yourself on their level, and then also letting them know the 5, 6, 7, 8, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, totally. I loved what you touched on there. I want to ask you, because, in the Q&A session, they're probably, the kids are hungry to hear what's happening in your life as a performer. What kind of questions, what are kind of the main questions that you're getting during that Q&A part?
It's so funny, because a lot of the times they're still, after they do the combinations, right? And I'll usually bring the parents and the studio owners in for the last, 15, 20 minutes of the class to see, what we've actually worked on for the past hour and a half or so. And once they see what they've done, sometimes they're so stunned by themselves that they then instantly become quiet again. It's the strangest thing. It's like they blow themselves away, and then they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And then they're like quiet as like little church mice. It's the cutest, funniest, most bizarre thing in the world. But a lot of the times they're asking, what are they asking? They want to know where you went to school. And I think what's really interesting, especially about the Broadway season that's out on tour right now, is it's a very varied season, in the sense that, you've got a show like Pippin, which has, some possibly older Fosse dancers in it. Then you've got a show like Newsies, which is going to be kids fresh out of high school, some of them, So the question that I get a lot now is it important to go to school? And a lot of different studio owners have their own take on it. And, a lot of different parents have their, own views. So I always preface saying I can only speak from my experience, mm-hmm. in the sense that when I looked at myself as a senior in high school, I had the option to go on a non-equity national tour or go to college. And I knew I could have gone on that tour and it would have been great fun, but I don't think that I didn't have the tools at 18 that would give me that foundation to sustain a career. I think I had enough to book a job, but I didn't have what it would take to work on multiple shows with different choreographers. And so I always am a champion of the educational programs, whether that be you go to be an English major and you do your dance classes on the side, but just to give yourself, that option of, 4 years outside of your parents' house, but still with their protection and financial blessing, that you can really figure out if this is really what you want to do and continue to invest in it or, do something else. So I think education is one thing that, really comes up a lot. And then they always want to know what celebrities have come to the show. And then I roll my eyes.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Jennifer, what about you? I mean, what are some of the questions that you've heard from maybe some of your other teachers and when you've been teaching as well, that the students are hungry to know? Because this is going to serve our studio owners and our teachers.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people ask when they know that I'm actually choreographing new musicals, they ask about auditions and what is it like to audition? How could I get an audition? What do you do in the audition? So everyone asks about that. And I tell them that singing, acting, and dancing is required. And then we end up talking about training in those areas and when to start training, vocally and how to do that. There are a lot of questions about resources, where to go for those types of things, how to build those programs at your studio. And I love talking to everybody about where they're at and how to generate interest and how to bring a group together and get them working on vocal technique and what are the exercises that you can do to introduce, acting and to give them a chance. And then they ask me, about training in New York, just as probably as much about universities, but knowing that I'm in New York right now, they ask a lot about that. We always talk about favorite shows and what shows we've seen, which is a fun thing to share. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think, audition information always comes up. People are always wanting to know, how do I prepare for an audition? A lot of studio owners and teachers who maybe aren't working in the industry currently or aren't going to auditions themselves. I mean, has it changed? Have you seen it change in New York, for instance, Jennifer? Or as well, Robert, when you've been going to auditions for other shows, has the process of an audition changed, evolved as time's gone on, or has it essentially stayed the same? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that the need for versatility has grown. It's just grown. And exactly what Jennifer was saying with stressing that singing, dancing, and acting is required. I've seen, and I haven't been in the business for a long time, so I can't speak much on it, but I have seen incredible dancers who could dance me under a table. I mean, take every single job away from me. But the fact that I could sing, and on top of that, I could understudy because I can act and I can play roles. They ended up not getting the job and I got the job. Although what I do in the show every night, they could probably do better than me. I still had the job because what they really needed me to do, which would be, cover one of the principals, that wasn't in their wheelhouse. So I think just the versatility and the requirements have just, become higher. And, you just, look at Broadway right now and you've got, dancers from, I think of some of my friends who were in Motown on Broadway and now they're in Hamilton. It's just, they're both contemporary, but it's just so different. You've got, traditional musical theater dancing, and then in one show, and then in the other show, you've got pop locking and hip hop. So you're just asking people, you're just asking people to do every and anything these days. And the people that produce it are are working, I guess. I hope that's not a vague answer, but I just think the days of just asking a girl to bevel and kick her leg high, I think that's just over.
I would agree. Jennifer, your take on this as well?
And that was exactly what I was going to say. The demand for versatility is exorbitantly high. The number of cast members in a show, used to be so huge. I think before Robert and I were in New York, but I'm sure we were seeing the shows growing up, and you just have these ensembles and courses of large numbers of dancers, and that has changed. And everyone has to be able to understudy. You have to be able to swing, which is so difficult. You have to be a dance captain. Everyone has to be doing more than just their track, almost 100% of the time. Right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a big thing, and people have been talking about versatility for years. But I would agree in what I've seen with our studio owners, students who have landed roles in musicals and shows, they're not necessarily the best dancer, which I think you touched on, Robert, as well. But across the board, they're strong. And they can go into an audition and pick up a different type of choreographer style that they haven't done before very quickly, and they can perform it. I think that's a big key as well. I'd love to know, Jennifer, you've created this business, Broadway Connection. Robert, you essentially are your own business as a performer. I'd like to talk about that for a minute because, we talked about social media and how kids are on it all the time. I think one of the things that we need to be teaching our students is how to run themselves as a business. Not just be a performer, but you need to know how to, manage your money, and you need to know how to, do marketing, and you need to know about networking. Jennifer, I'd love to hear from your perspective from running a business in what you do now, and then Robert about how you run yourself as a business.
Yeah, totally. So yes, thinking about yourself as a business, there's a lot to it. It's not even just about money. It's about being innovative. It's about being having communication that is beyond professional. It's about being proactive, constantly proactive, and clear about who you are and what you want to do. Really supporting yourself. You have to think what is the lifestyle that I want? What is my priority? And if I'm choosing this and this is my priority, if it's I want to be able to go to auditions every day, if it's I want to take class every day, if those are your priorities and you're sacrificing other things and taking time to have 3 jobs, to start your own business, to not live in a big apartment, and live in a small space, whatever that is, if you connect to your priority that you have set, then you should find the positivity, the joy in pursuing that. And the moment that you don't, you have to change that. This is such a hard business, and you have to be constantly working at it and be so excited that you couldn't possibly live without it. And it's just about being proactive and about that communication, listening, are just so, so important. And in running, I have 2 businesses. And then I consider third business, being a choreographer and director. And I love the versatility of the challenges, of the communities and families that I get to be a part of and that I get to support. And so it is beyond fulfilling to find a path, to go after it, and to create it with support.
No, great. And I'm with you on that one. Robert, what about you?
Well, first off, Jennifer is so inspiring, and she's a baller, and she's amazing, and I'm obsessed. But it really comes down to taking exactly what she said, taking control of the life that you want to live. And I think that, when you grow up and you see Broadway shows, or, you just fantasize about being on Broadway, or, whatever it is, and then it happens, you have this okay, what's next moment, and I think that's where I think a lot of the marketing and figuring out what your next is going to be. For instance, for me, I absolutely love performing, and I love teaching, and I love, the hustle and bustle of the life. But at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a side business as an interior designer. And I know that giving myself probably another 5 years or so is what I've got to like really be pushing this thing. And then I cannot wait to sit on a gorgeous porch and have a beautiful ring on my finger and watch my children grow up. And just like figuring out really the life that you want to live, and figuring out how to hustle and navigate to make it work. And I think, especially as performers, branding yourself, and also because money is so in and out as artists, exactly what you said about money management. All of the tools are out there. Everything is out there. And a lot of it is free on the internet. And sometimes if I find myself on Facebook late at night, I'll just say, okay, Robert, there's something free that you could find on the internet that could tell you something about being either a better business owner or being a better something, and then I'll start reading that article and fall asleep really, really quickly. But I just think that exactly what Jennifer was saying, but really just branding yourself and pushing that. But it all starts with figuring out what it is that you want.
Yeah, I think that concept is an interesting one, and I think it's one that our studio owners need to be asking more to their students. What is it that you actually want? It's a question that I ask our studio owners in our programs, every day. Not what do you think your parents want for you, or your dance teacher wants for you, or whoever, but what do you actually want?
And can I add to that really quick?
Please.
How Broadway Connection is structured, usually the studio owner or a parent from the studio will, say my class is scheduled for 9:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. And the studio may be a half an hour away. So, the owner may pick you up at 8:45. And yes, it's early in the morning, but it's like, okay, come on, we've got a job to do. And there have been a few times where I've been picked up, and the studio owners are, and I love everyone that we get a chance to work for, but they're burnt out, and I think that when you don't have a plan, you burn out. It's just like, when I go to the gym to work out, I can either sit there and do supersets for a half an hour and get my pump on, or I can like mosey around and need to do, but it'll take an hour and a half, So really sitting down and making a logistical plan, even if it's just on pen and paper, saying what you're going to do this week, you'll be able to find more free time. And I feel like I've pep talked a couple of dance teachers, back to getting off of the cliff in these car rides between the hotel and their studios, just like, no, you write a plan and you can do this, but I think that, running your own operation, sometimes you lose sight that the personal time that's required for you to rejuvenate you is just as essential as running. It's completely linked to running a successful business.
I agree with you. And, that's what we work on, every day. I know that's what you guys, work on as well with your students is, have the plan in place, do the work, and get out there and make life happen, for you, not to you, I think is the big,
right.
lesson. Guys, I'm loving chatting to you. I want to wrap up though, because I know we're short on time. I'd love to get from each of you, like your 3 pieces of like gold nuggets of, what it is to be successful. Like if you were working maybe, Robert, with your students, what do you say are like those 3 things that you need to, foster success in your life? The last parting words from you both.
Okay.
You want to go first, Robert? Do you want to think about it?
Okay, you want to go first, Jennifer?
I can tell you want to think about it. Okay, so 3 things that are helpful to being a successful business owner or creative or mom or dad or anything, for me is they're all similar. And the first thing is to listen. Communication is so essential, and we don't all listen. And that goes back to, having the phone and having media and stuff, but it's really not an excuse. You can still have all that and you can still listen. You can still look at people in the eyes, you can breathe, and you can listen. The second thing is follow through. There are people who say, I'm going to do this, I want to do that. Even if it's having coffee or wanting to meet somebody and have a conversation, but it's the follow through that shows if you're going to be successful in the long run. Like, do it right away and do it and be positive about it and be pumped about it. So listen and follow through. And finally, follow up with clarity. Know what you want, know what you need from somebody else, and tell them what you're bringing to the table. It's going to make it so that an action can be taken faster. It makes it so people can support you even more, and it's going to make them excited to be a part of whatever you're doing. So listen, follow through, and follow up with clarity, I think, are so important.
I love them. They're great. Robert, have you thought?
Those were amazing, Jennifer. Those were so good. I think I should just say, I would say number one, finding joy in everything that you're doing. I think especially in as performers in audition rooms, or even if it's on the stage, I think just a healthy dose of optimism, it just really goes a really, really, really long way through this process and this journey of being performing artists. So one, finding joy. Two would be, as silly as it sounds, just being nice. I tell this to the kids when we finish up class. I say, don't be the gossiper, don't be the person who's being the mean person, and they all kind of look at me funny. And it's happened twice on this tour, actually, where the director or the casting director have called me because someone that they're thinking of hiring is getting ready to come into the company, and they've heard something about them and they want to do a character check-in, essentially. And I'm just a performer. I'm not a dance captain in the show. I'm not an assistant dance captain. I'm not a stage manager. I hold no status in that sense. But the fact that someone has the power, if I said, I don't think this person is nice, or I don't think that they have good character, then that person would not have received the job. And it's happened on this tour because of such, and especially when you're on a tour and you're living in such close quarters with each other, you got to have nice people. So one, find joy. Two, you want really nice people at the party. And three, just saying thank you. I always close out the class and, tell the kids to go home and do something nice for their parents. Like, I don't know, do the dishes or sweep or do something, because I think that it takes a lot for, I always go back to, if I were a kid and something like Broadway Connection were around, I know that my single mom would not have been able to afford it, So I know that these things aren't cheap. So the fact that the studio owners have found the time to reach out to Jennifer and make this happen, and the parents have made the financial sacrifice for their kids to be able to do this, I think it's just really huge. So I think saying thank you and being a nice person at the party and just finding joy in what you do it just really goes a long way on the journey.
Yeah. Awesome. See, you delivered for us, Robert. You delivered 3 great things.
Oh my God. I'm like Oprah. And Jennifer's like amazing. I can't. She's amazing.
Look, guys, I really, really love chatting with you both. Thanks so much for sharing, some of your wisdom and a bit more about your journey. Where can we go, Jennifer, for more information if we're looking at, getting one of the awesome artists that are on tour at the moment to come into our studio? Where can we go for more information?
Yeah. You can go to BroadwayConnection.net. It's really, really easy. You can look at your city, and then you click on, let's say that you're in Rochester, and you click on Rochester, and the whole season comes up with all the different shows, and then you can click that show logo. So if you saw Motown, which Robert's in, you could click that, and then a note comes right to me. And then we chat about timing and all the details, and we take care of everything. So it's super easy. We give the online advertising materials. We're even starting to have videos where the teachers say hi and introduce themselves. So it's really, really easy. So it's BroadwayConnection.net. And then also you can check out JenniferJancusca.com. My last name is spelled Jancuska, and that's JenniferJancusca.com. And finally, bcbeat.net, and that's BCBEAT.net. And you can check out what we're doing in New York. Again, our next show is November 9th, and we're featuring amazing, amazing choreographers, and the whole community comes out. And hopefully, I don't know if Robert's going to be back in New York, but I hope I see him there. So those are the places. And I'm sure Robert has some stuff to share as well.
Yeah, Robert, where can we find out about you?
Well, first off, if you're ever in New York, you have got to go to BCB. And I'm serious, I'm definitely one of the biggest Jennifer Jancusca fan club members because it is so, no, I'm serious. It's really so awesome when an artist can meld the business mind and the artistic side and make it into something that everyone can feed off of. And I think BCB is such an amazing outlet for, budding choreographers and then also established choreographers and dancers to really stretch themselves, and in a really commercial and funky outlet that, us sometimes uptight, very trained, Broadway dancers don't get to do. So I think it's a really awesome, outlet to almost say like, musical theater dancers are cool too. We're funky too. But you can find stuff about my interior design business at my website, which is iamroberthartwell.com. It's pretty simple. iamroberthartwell.com. And I post little updates and such there. And yeah, that's my little home on the internet.
Yeah, awesome, guys. So make sure you go and check out both of their websites. And thanks so much for joining us today. Love chatting with you both.
Oh, thanks, Clint. You're awesome.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you so much. It was great to chat.
Are you enjoying the Studio Success Formula podcast? Then we'd love for you to share the love. We want to help more dance studio owners become go-to studios, so we'd greatly appreciate you writing us a review on iTunes. For taking the time out to do so, every month, Clint will be selecting one lucky dance studio owner to receive a Power Business Coaching session. Simply visit the iTunes store today, search for Studio Success Formula, click on ratings and reviews, and then write your review. Thanks in advance. Take care, and we'll see you next time.